Tak menjaringkan gol, tak menang. This is the biggest lesson from both semi-finals of the ASEAN Club Championship Shopee Cup semi-finals earlier tonight. And the thing is, for Johor Darul Taksim's case, where they kalah 3-1 at home in the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium in front of close to 20,000 supporters who were in attendance, I think the result and the way they played and how they allowed Buriram to exploit their weakest link with their subtle touch finishing. That was the difference between Buriram scoring 3 goals, all with first time attempts, and Johor, who had more of the ball, with more of the play, but tak the finishing, tak the imaginasi, tak the creativity, or wanting to score that beautiful goal the way Aga Sente managed to achieve early in injury time in the second half. It was a wonderful goal, but could Johor have been more ruthless in front of goal, or the Southern Tigers have tucked the finisher? For all the play that they produced, it was like you can see a mini version of like the Southern Tigers trying to play the beautiful, so-called beautiful way with their nice pass, with their nice football on the ground, but prone to occasional errors. And when they kena counter-attack by Buriram, who spent much of the game, the first leg, in their own half, playing a very conservative but rather little counter-attacking, they paid the price for failing to score. And 2 goals by Guilherme Bissoli showed why having knowing how to finish at this level, at this stage of the competition, Sepuru Akhir is very important. And you contrast that to Selangor's Chirigo Morales. A, I mean, currently leading in the Golden Boot race for Liga Super Malaysia. He's also now showing that he can also deliver the goods, not just in the domestic competitions, not just in the AFC Champions League duel, but also when it really mattered. The first leg against Sabtu leg against Nam Dinh of Vietnam, where the Red Giants came away with an important dual Sabtu menang at home, also at home, at the Stadium Petaling Jaya. The key similarity is when you got finishers who know how to score, you win the game. At this stage, this is not about whether you play nice tiki taka or haram bola or hantam bola. It's you score, you win. Menjaringkan, menang. Tak score, kalah. It's effectively as simple as that. And on the other end, you can see keepers playing a massive part. So take a bow, Sheikh Izan of Selangor and New Etheridge of Buriram. You wonder whether Shihan Hazmi had it a bit too much or was a little bit rusty because of the more recent involvement of Adoni Zubair, who was totally not involved in this match at all, not even on the subs bench. Whether that match rustiness has come back to haunt JDT in the first leg. Possibly it's their exertions in Saudi Arabia where they played, you can say, their best game in the Elite AFC Champions League. But the thing is, in this stage of the competition, once again, already even before the ball kickoff, you wonder whether Johor Darul Takzim was serious in wanting to make a statement in Southeast Asia, having reached a milestone in Asia this season. Yes, The Southern Tigers starting 11, Cisco Munoz chose several regulars in the likes of Oscar Arribas, Jairo, who returned from a nasty concussion injury in Saudi Arabia, Marcos Guhebe, who had been a major contributing force in Asia, and you have Nacho Mendes, and returning to the fold, and you got Eddie Safilov. Those guys who started and featured prominently in that quarterfinal against eventual champions Al Ali of Saudi Arabia. And then you have Afiq Faisal, Corbin Ong, who doesn't look that match fit, and you're throwing him into that deep end. And you also had, I think, Shihan in goal. And to make matters pretty interesting, the bench itself, probably I'm not sure whether is it because Cisco Munoz is very confident, or is it because of the ASEAN Club Championship regulations by the ASEAN Football Federation, that the bench really read like this. It's like you got your Shahami Safari, that, and you have your Christian Abad in as a reserve goalkeeper. Then there are more eye-browsing selections on the bench. Junior L Style, Ibrahim Manusi, Matt Davis, Nazmi Fai is always on the bench, so not surprised, but there were quite a few very eye-browsing subs. Stuart Wilkin, not that much of a surprise. Shamil Kutiaba, not that much, but given that they were not really involved in Asia during this stage and had only featured there and then after being recalled from their respective loans in mid-season. But that question mark of desire is there. Compared to Buriram, who fielded, you can say is a relatively strong side, making having rested these players in their domestic game over the past weekend just to focus on this. Only New Etheridge and possibly one other player remain from the side that featured in domestic league over the weekend, even though they are already crowned champions. So you can see the difference in focus. Buriram do want to defend their ASEAN Club Championship Shopee Cup. JDT, they want to play beautiful, but you can see that with a few notable players missing, not who are not even on the bench. Nasho Insa, the captain, Bergson, their top scorer, these two were not on the bench at all. Neither was Shane Lowry or Park Jun Hyung, your usual substitute defenders who can play the tough game when needed against the um, Buriram forwards, especially with your likes of one of the Zuj brothers, Bisoli, Supana Mutena, and even Tirton Bumantan being involved in the starting 11. You wonder what was in the Johor Darul Takzim's technical team's minds when they make that selection for this game. And you contrast that to Selangor's approach. Selangor, they threw in their strongest possible players for this game. Shigizan in goal, it's a toss up always between Shigizan or Kalamula or Hafiz throughout the season. But most of the core players were involved from the get go, whether it was a Quentin Che, Noor Rabde, Ibrahim Musa, Safwan Baharudin, and their inspirational captain Faisal Halim. You know that under Kim Panggon, the Red Giants know that this is their final opportunity to win some silverware and also to show that their performance in Southeast Asia provides a stable platform for them to build on should they qualify for Asia again, and to show that they're capable of performing at this level. And this was against Namdin, who actually, like Buriram, brought back their strongest possible 11 within the tournament regulation, because let's not forget one little thing. In the ASEAN Cup Championship Shopee Cup, every team must field four locals. Whether they're naturalized or local born, they have to be of that nationality of the club that they represent. So there's that restriction, but Namdin, like Buriram, kept their big guns for this occasion. So what is the difference between Johor Takzim and Selangor in this on the same day when they played those semi-finals? It comes down to one thing: desire. That desire to want to show what they can do. Johor, having achieved the pinnacle of playing in Asia, reaching the quarterfinals of the AFC Champions League Elite for the first time, they thought that probably against Buriram, they could relax a little. They still kept their strongest possible players in Arribas, Isafilov, Nacho Mendes, Marcos Guilherme, to an extent Gyro. But the absence of a few others does raise a question whether throughout this whole Shopee Cup campaign, are JDT fully into it? Because from the way they have displayed the Shopee Cup, it's not the same as how undeniably they focus a lot on the ACLE in Asia to show that they are among the best clubs in the wide vast continent, whatever the format it is. And that has been their main goal. And this main goal has actually been achieved. So after that, was it a case of wanting to show that they can be among the best in Southeast Asia? By reaching the semi-finals in their first campaign, not too bad, but yet, as I watched that game at Sultan Ibrahim Stadium, you wonder whether the Southern Tigers were fully up for the fight. They played decent football. They tried to go on the front foot from the get-go. They capitalized on a mistake by New Etheridge to try to lob only for the lob to be cleared close to the goal line by a Buriram defender, and only to be sucker punched by by quick counter attacks by Buriram, who weren't I mean who weren't at their you can say that technically they're there, but if you are expecting an exhibition game of two very good, two of the best Southeast Asian clubs, the two teams who reached the quarterfinals of the ACLE in the Southeast Asian Out Classico, not exactly that. There was more of the argy-bargy, the fist, the shoving, that evident bad blood that still boils on occasion between those two clubs in the way that hasn't been fully resolved since what happened last season in the ACLE round 16 when those two teams met. So the rivalry has always been there, the intensity has always been there, and even the contrast in styles of play have been there. But you do wonder whether certain Southern Tigers were taking it a little too casually, even when they were two goals down. It's like they had the ball, they're trying to pass their way, trying to find a way to open up a very stubborn Buriram back line, well marshaled by Etheridge in goal, with the way how Buriram played that low block and prevented the Southern Tigers from trying to pierce open. It was a case of Gyro is not a known finisher. He was more of a strong presence up front, capable of playing the link up man between the midfield and attack, capable of drifting into either wing, and had been a positive presence despite you can say at in certain quarters that he's not exactly Bergson. And without Bergson the finisher, but not exactly at the Asian level, and Bergson being totally absent from this game, you wonder, where is the finisher in Johor? Why were they not taking shots as the time was ticking away? Why were they not trying to do anything? Compared to Selangor, Selangor had a natural finisher. For all their faults this season, Chirigo has been a constant plus. Whether it was in Liga Super, ACL2, and now the ASEAN Club Championship, Chirigo has been delivering the goods. The fact that Chirigo is also ahead of Bergson in the Liga Super Golden Boot race by 2 goals shows his reliability and composure. And in one of the biggest games of Selangor season, Chirigo clearly showed why that finishing at this level was that important. And because Chirigo could finish, could able to hold and fool the defense before scoring with power, with good placing, with that instinct, that predatory instinct inside the box that JDT totally tak boleh. Totally. Yes, Axete had a wonderful goal from the right wing, curling all the way to the top corner for their only goal of the game, but their instinct inside the 6 yard box, the penalty area, kosong. What were they trying to do? It's like pass, they can't find, pass all the way back to centre back. Hey, hello, the 18 over 1,000 people who came to watch the game weren't waiting for you to pass all the way back to the defender just to try to start all over again, hoping that Buriram will come out and play the open game, which they did not fall into that trap. And a bit round, like, if you need to find a way to muscle your way into the goal, you do it. Selangor did that. Whether it was Quentin Cheng playing on the right as usual, or Faisal Halim providing that support, or the way how Selangor link up their attacks in those opportunities they had to prize open the Namdin back line. You don't see that in Johor. Really, you didn't see that in Johor. Buriram knew that they had to be at their best on the counter to get something out of it. And in just like that, bang, 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 habis Johor Darul Takzim. Kalah. Second leg, almost a formality for the defending champions Buriram. It's that simple. It's like, hey, and you can, some people will say, hey, Buriram playing haram ball, like direct counter attack, and all the three goals that Buriram scored came from Johor's right side. So it means that there's something unusually lacking, because in trying to play good football, in trying to play a little bit the way they probably had gone back to play when it's not Al Ali or even Sanfrecce or the Japanese clubs. It's a bit like reverting a little back to type. And Buriram knew that type of complacency, especially among the Spanish-speaking players, I think, or I wouldn't say the Brazilians, but their desire to find that nifty pass, trying to break open with trying to be clever, but not there. Selangor didn't play the most swashbuckling of football, but their desire is there. Their performance was inspirational. Safwan kept one of the most dangerous strikers in Southeast Asian football right now, Nguyen Xuan Song or Rafaelson, very quiet throughout that game in Petaling Jaya. Meanwhile, despite having Isafilov and Antonio Gauder at the heart of Johor's defense, it seems like they were a bit they were drifting away a little bit, because that third defender is not the usual partnership that they are familiar with. And as a result, it was a case of clever positioning to score all three goals in the box. Two first timer by on foot by Bisoli, and the other goal one time header. And Shihan was done. Like that, just like that. Did Shihan make a big save in the first leg? Kosong. Did Sheikh Izzah on the other hand, sub two big save. And that was crucial, because Namdin were the ones applying the pressure before Selangor settled down to score. So ultimately, at this stage of any knockout, at the knockout phase of any competition, you have to score. You have to find a way to score. Whether it's playing nice, or playing direct, or perhaps even playing haram ball, like the way Buriram did. And then you can see why Buriram and Selangor take those leads going into the second leg that also take place next week. This time round, one in back in Thailand, back in the Thunder Castle Stadium or Chang Arena for Buriram, and back in Vietnam for Nam Dinh. And can Selangor show that they still have that spirit to keep the Malaysian football flag flying? I think that will be worth something to look at when the second leg of the Shopee Cup semi-finals resumes next week.